Klint Kubiak plans on using the fullback with the Seattle Seahawks this season. What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Happy Friday. Got a lot of snow in my area right now. A lot of people who watch my videos may have similar conditions. So if you do, I hope you are staying safe and it's not negatively affecting you. It has not yet negatively affected me as of me recording this video, but there's still time. And I figure this is a pretty good point to take a little bit of a detour. Not really, but kind of a detour, because this is not something that you would usually talk about when you're talking about an NFL team, the fullback. It is very rare that a fullback matters at all in the NFL these days, and it's usually a complete afterthought. I was not planning on discussing the fullback position really at all during this free agency period, but Kubiak's press conference and some just generalized comments being made about what the Seahawks hope to be in 2025, and just the general state of things seems to demand it. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the fullback spot. So, Klint Kubiak says he likes using a fullback, and he does plan on having a fullback for the Seahawks in 2025 and utilizing it in some way. Now, that might only be a handful of snaps a game. Even the teams that use fullbacks a lot typically use them a handful of times per game. You're not going to see never-ending I formations. You're not going to see a bunch of uneven formations. I am sure that Kubiak is going to be running mostly a modern offense. But the question is he going to be using two-back formations enough to justify going out to get a more dedicated fullback? If you're only planning on doing it once or twice a game, you can just make it pop with the guys that you have. Brady Russell, you bring him back on a veteran minimum deal, and he's your fullback for 2 plays a game. You could use Byron Murphy as fullback for a play a game. You could probably use Charbonnet as a fullback for 1 or 2 plays a game. So, if that's the case, then it's easy. But what if it's more than that? What if he wants to use a fullback 8 times a game or 10 times a game? You need to go get somebody that has a proven track record of experience and a wealth of success at the position. And there aren't a lot of those guys left. So I thought I'd go ahead and go through some options here. We got a very short list of free agents. And of this list, I can tell you, Nick Bellore has not really played very much fullback in his career. Technically, he is one. He's done it before, but that was years ago. He's a special teamer and linebacker now. So we're not really going to talk about Bellore. Reunion would be fun, but not for fullback purposes. And Robert Burns is an exclusive rights free agent. Very unlikely that you can get him. So really, we're talking about 4 guys here, and I thought I'd go ahead and run through, as well as a couple other guys that I know people are going to be curious about. So let's start with Patrick Ricard. Patrick Ricard, this is going to be one of the most high-profile free agent fullbacks this season. Very much a bigger guy, a full 300 pounds. He's played defensive tackle at some points in his career. He's listed as a defensive tackle on PFR. 5-time Pro Bowler, made an All-Pro team. He's considered to be probably the best fullback in the game right now. So it's hard to imagine the Ravens letting him go because they need that fullback, right? They need a fullback the way they play football. So when they've got a guy in-house who is a 5-time Pro Bowler, is coming off an All-Pro first team nod, and does all this despite not ever really touching the football, right? He hasn't had a carry since 2022, and he catches the ball a few times a season. Seems like they got their guy. I don't know if they're going to let this one get out of the building, personally. Pro Football Focus, you can break it down by snap here. Let me try to zoom in a little bit to help you guys out. Well, okay, that's about as far as we can go. But you can see how often he lines up at fullback per game. every game he's lining up at fullback at least a few times in some capacity. And there are some games where you can see he's getting over a dozen snaps at fullback. He's getting over 20 snaps at fullback, right? And on the season, if you remove the halfback snaps, he has 2 right here. It's 228 snaps. Now, that includes playoffs, but this is the guy if you want a high-volume fullback. About to turn 31, age becoming a concern, but not a huge one yet. And you can also see he's adding value as an inline tight end. He lines up in line as a tight end over 200 times. And again, that counts the playoffs, but he's still well over 200 even if you cut it off before then. Lines up in the slot a little bit, wide a little bit, but we don't really care about that. He's giving you tight end value and backfield fullback value. It is worth noting that despite him lining up as a tight end a decent amount, he almost never catches the ball. So it's not like you're going to get a receiving threat here, but the point is he is adding value at that spot. And PFF doesn't love him. They grade him pretty middle of the road. They do think he's a better than average blocker. They have 1 quarterback pressure on his head in all of last season on 70 pass block snaps. Mostly he's a run blocker. Of course, he's a Raven, right? That's just common sense. So you have, excuse me. So you have a pretty decent sample size of data here that you're not going to get with most other players, is the overall point here. He's done it a lot. He's done it well. He's considered to be the best in the business. PFF, not a big fan. I wonder how PFF evaluates a fullback that never touches the ball, though. Just putting that out there. And Spotrac doesn't have a market value page for him, but his last contract was 3 years, $11.25 million, and he just made the Pro Bowl 3 straight years, right? Like, this guy's gonna, I'm sorry, not 3 straight, but 2 of the last 3 years, and he's been an All-Pro. Age or no age, he's probably getting a big pay bump. You're probably looking at something like 3 years, $15 million, and that might be more money than we need to spend on a fullback. If we're planning on having our fullback play, 20 snaps a game or even 15 snaps a game, maybe, but I seriously doubt that's the plan. I cannot imagine the Seahawks using a fullback this much. Kubiak or no Kubiak. Another name to keep an eye on would be Reggie Gilliam. This is going to be a lot less sexy, but this guy is younger. This guy has less miles on him. He is a little bit more of a traditional offensive skill position player. He's much smaller than I'm sorry, Patrick Ricard. Brain fart on the name there all of a sudden, but Reggie Gilliam doesn't play as much, hasn't done as much, but he is a fullback. He has an extensive amount of experience as a fullback. Doesn't do a lot of touching the ball. He has 6 career carries and 14 career catches. So he's not really that kind of a guy. He's a guy who blocks. And you go to PFF and sort by type of snap he takes. You can see that most of his backfield snaps are as a fullback. If you look at the whole season, and this includes playoffs, he had 79 snaps in the backfield, and only 11 of them were as a halfback. So all the others are as a fullback. That's what, 68? So it's decent. This is the guy you get if you're planning on using a fullback a decent amount, like maybe 4 to 5 times a game, and you want somebody who's really good at it, like better than Brady Russell would be, and you need something a little bit more than a gimmick, like Byron Murphy would be. So this is probably a little bit more adequate. You can also see he plays a little bit of tight end for Buffalo. 68 snaps, lined up as a tight end in line. Little bit of slot stuff, little bit of wide stuff, not really going to be valuing that. Point is, you're getting a guy who can do it at a level higher than a guy like a Brady Russell, and that's what we're looking for here, right? If we just need somebody on the level of Brady Russell, we bring back Brady Russell. And PFF likes him decently so, mediocre overall grade, but they really like his blocking. Run blocking score is strong. Pass blocking grade is really good, but it's only 6 snaps. Mostly he's a run blocker, and he's quite good at run blocking, it would seem. Seems to me anyway. It's sometimes hard to determine these things without watching snap after snap after snap after snap, and I admit I haven't done that yet, but he seems like a pretty good player, and there's no market value page for him, but last contract was about 2 years, 4.6 million. I don't think it would be a lot more than that, right? He got that after a season where he started 4 games, and the previous year he started 5 games. Since then, he started no games. So it's not like he broke out and turned into an absolute beast after that contract. So 2 years, 5 million for a guy about to turn, or has just turned 27, going to turn 28 before the season starts approximately. I Spotrac and PFR get the ages different sometimes. I think they did here too. So, okay. It's a little bit more feasible, right? That's half the price of Ricard. So that would be another viable option. Next guy down the line would be Michael Burton. Michael Burton, former 5th-round pick of the Detroit Lions, did just turn 33. So the age is starting to become a little bit of a noteworthy thing here. Another more traditional fullback. He's not anywhere near the size of Ricard. He's more of a normal fullback size. You can see he's been in the league a while, bounced around Detroit, Chicago, Washington, New Orleans, Kansas City, won a Super Bowl with them, Denver these last couple of years. He gets the ball every now and then, but it's definitely not a big part of his game. Has a handful of catches. So, a little bit more hands-on stuff than a guy like Ricard and maybe even Gilliam. But you're still mostly getting him for his blocking ability. You take a look at PFF, you can see that he lines up in the backfield a pretty decent amount. You're getting, if you remove the halfbacks snaps, if you just say, okay, wipe those out, you're still looking at over 100, 120 fullback snaps, including the playoff game. So that's less than 10 per game, but it's more than 5 on average. So pretty much every game here, he's lining up at fullback at least a few times. So again, it's a guy who has experience doing it and is considered to be quite good at it. Take a look at the PFF grading. It's pretty good all around. They like his pass protection, but it's only 13 snaps. And the run blocking grade is pretty decent. So 94 snaps of run blocking. It's a credible player. It's somebody who's pretty good at this. There aren't a lot of guys like this left out there, but he's been doing it for a while. Just have to wonder about the age. Now, again, there's no market value page for him, but his last contract was 1 year, 1.2 million, and the contract he signed before that was also 1 year deal, 1 year deal, 1 year deal. So this is a vetman guy. This is a guy who's going to be getting that 1 year, 1.3 million, 1.4 million. Is there a big enough downgrade from a guy like Reggie Gilliam here to a guy like a Michael Burton to justify spending the extra money? I'm not so sure. You can get this guy 1 year deal, half the cost of Reggie Gilliam, a quarter of the cost, if I'm right about my estimate, of Patrick Ricard. That's probably a little bit better, right? All right, so those are the first 3 fullbacks that we have to look at. We've got a couple more candidates, but I'm going to save those for a video in a couple of hours. So I'll see you guys soon. Go Hawks. Keep an eye out for the next couple of videos. We're going to finish up this fullback convo. Surprisingly, it's important. Surprisingly, it's really going to matter. It seems like this team really wants to have a real fullback on the team. We got a few more candidates to discuss, but these guys are rare. So the guys that we do find who can do this, just understand that, this is a situation where you can't really be picky. All right, everyone have a good day. Go Hawks.